Hello, my name is Mari and welcome to this video that is on my channel. So, I guess I'm going to be doing some Happy Tree Friends stuff for a while. This is probably the closest I'll ever get to being a furry. If you don't know what Happy Tree Friends is, well, be warned, it is a really violent cartoon show. Like Final Destination, but worse with cute forest animals and cartoon logic, which I believe is great. Now, needless to say, this show is for adults, and as an adult myself, yes, I am an adult, I love this show. I think it is great, gore-tastical fun, especially when watching other people react to it. I love watching them suffer. Now, I know that not many people like the show, and that is completely fine. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion, and my opinion is that I like the show. When I first heard of it, I was about 10 or 11, and I watched it from that React channel where a bunch of elders watched it. Now, at the time it did disturb me, but I also quite enjoyed it. I thought it was really unique and so horrible that it was cool. But unfortunately, despite being curious, I never looked into more of the show afterward because of this one sole reason. I have a phobia of wrists, specifically the soft veiny side. I don't know how to explain it other than wrists genuinely appall and repulse me, and yes, I know it is a very irrational fear. But luckily for me, however, it doesn't affect me as bad as it once used to. But with that in mind, as a child, this fear was bad, and I couldn't even think about wrists sort of bad. And so yeah, that's the only reason why I hadn't watched any more Happy Tree Friends as a child. In my mind at the time, I knew that there was going to be some episodes where the wrists would be utterly massacred, which sadly pushed me away from that amazing show. And what do you know? I was right. Anyway, I forgot about the show for the next many years until I would rediscover it in, well, literally early last year. I was in a second, more trashy in my opinion, media class, researching various adult-rated cartoons for an assignment. No, not porn. This was how I stumbled upon the show again. I saw it, got nostalgic, but didn't really look into it until around a month later when on Friday Night's Funkin', another thing I kind of enjoy, the very first Versus Flippy mod came out. That mod managed to make me curious enough about Happy Tree Friends to finally decide to give it a watch, and let me tell you, I missed out. It actually wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I was really relieved that only one episode had a death that was related to the wrists, which is perfect. And by the way, in case you couldn't guess, I don't like that episode. Anyway, I'm going to geek over the show now, starting with some of my favourite characters. So if you have no idea what I am talking about, then this is going to be even more out of context for you. So watch the show, look into the wiki a little, then come back if you want. Okay, we all good to start now? Okay, cool. It should go without saying that Flippy is also my favourite Happy Tree Friends character. I mean, what can I say, I'm a sucker for a traumatized character with a fucked up backstory. But here's the thing. Though I like Flippy, the one thing about him that I disapprove of, which I think a lot of other people would agree with, is the whole PTSD equals murderer stereotype. I find that quite wrong, but at the same time, however, I don't think it is actually that much of a problem. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still really dislike the stereotype, but I think in the case of Happy Tree Friends it doesn't really matter because, well, that is kind of the point of the show. The show's only purpose is to be as absurd and gruesome as possible. It is not supposed to be taken seriously or realistically at all. I mean, for fuck's sake, the characters are as fragile as glass both physically and intellectually. Remember, Happy Tree Friends is just a cartoon, and an old one at that. And if it's really all that important, then consider the cursed idol theory, and perhaps the possibility that the idol is what pushes Flippy's PTSD to the extremity of the stereotypes. Just an idea. Anyway, enough with the rambling. Some of my favourite episodes with Flippy include Party Animal and Friday the 13th, to no one's surprise. But I also really like the episode By the Seat of Your Pants. Now, I'm sure a lot of people don't actually like that episode because Lumpy kills Flippy, but that's actually the reason why I like that episode. I think the moment of shock you feel when he dies is great, because I mean, Flippy rarely ever dies, which leads me to my second point. I think this episode is a good reminder to people that Flippy isn't impervious to death. Plus, it's just funny to me that Lumpy is the only character that can truly kill Flippy, whether directly or indirectly. Anyway, in summary, Flippy makes me feel sympathy for him and I like the creativity of Flippy. Moving on. Another character that I really like is Handy, the handyman without hands. How sad. Handy is just great. I love his grumpiness and general lack of interest in seeing others die around him. It's fun. I also enjoy his friendship with the mole, who I also like, and Also the relationship with Petunia in that one episode, I Nub You, which I'll get into more in a bit. It should go without saying that Shard at Work and Don't Yank My Chain are my favourite Handy episodes. The final character that I'm going to talk about who I also really enjoy and like is the Mime. He's just really fun to watch, being a genuinely entertaining character with a quirky personality and a hell of a lot of creative potential. My favourite episode with him is Mime to 5, although his moment in Easy For You to Slay is also great. Okay, now don't get me wrong, I love all the characters in the show. I don't think any one character is bad. Except maybe Pop for being a god-awful father. I mean, holy shit. The characters I just listed tend to be the ones I most enjoy seeing. I mean, I feel sorry for Toothy with his eye injuries in that one episode. I relate to Petunia with her germophobia, but not to that extreme. I enjoy watching Nutty kill others for his addiction before promptly dying to said addiction, and I could go on and on about what I like about these characters, but I think I should move on for now. Some of the episodes that I really enjoy, aside from the ones I already listed, include Eye Candy, a classic, Easy Comb, Easy Go, though I do think Disco Bear should have died, but oh well, rip Cuddles and Handy, Wishy Washy, which it just reminds me heavily of a character of mine, no spoilers, Blind Date, which is just some wholesome times with them all, Skia, Wouldn't Wanna Be Ya, because damn, Flick you be put in a tough spot, all of the Kapow episodes, and I just want to say that them all being an ex-spy is canon in my mind and no one can tell me otherwise. And more. But what about the fan episodes? Well, to give credit where credit is due, I think that the creators of the fan episodes are doing a fantastic job. Animation is really difficult and I give massive props to them for doing so superb with the animation, the sound, the music, the story, art, just about everything. And I'm aware that what they're doing is hard to do, especially alone. And sure, it may not be exactly like the original, but they're still working really hard at what they're doing and I highly respect them for it. But with all that said, I'm not really into the fan episodes. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still really appreciate and respect what they are doing, and even find some of their episodes enjoyable, if not incredible. But for me, it just doesn't work unlike the originals. For instance with Nemeo, I'm not really a fan of the whole ship between their OC Snowers, I believe that's his name, correct me if I'm wrong, and Giggles. Now I have nothing wrong with OC characters, that's completely fine. In fact, I actually made an OC of my own quite recently, although I will talk about it more in another video. It's just, to me, I find the shipping strange and cringy, and I apologize if I offend anyone. Another example is with Sebastian Rodriguez. Now, I quite like what he's doing, but personally, I think it is a bit too edgy for my taste. I mean, I don't know, it brings me back to my creepypasta edge face. Now remember, this is just my opinion, and if you think it is wrong, then that is completely okay. I'm not saying that they should change what they are doing or be this, do that. I'm completely fine and happy with the content they are currently making and the content that they wish to make. And in terms of my own channel, I also hope that you are happy and fine with whatever I wish to do as well. I'm just saying that personally, I don't enjoy the fan episodes as much as I do with the originals. Okay, now with all that being said and done, it is now time for the final main thing that I want to talk about in terms of the Happy Tree Friends fandom. Something that I believe is highly controversial, cringe-inducing, and utterly terrifying. Chips. In general, I find chips a really strange thing that I also couldn't give any less shits for. The important thing about chips for me is if and when the potential relationship was alluded to or even addressed to in the official source material. If a relationship doesn't exist or is just morally wrong, then I don't think it is a viable ship. So with that being said, I'm going to apologize beforehand to anyone who may get even more offended by what I am about to say. Remember, this is my opinion and you are entitled to your own, so let's be respectful of each other and I shall continue. To start, here are the ships that I am fine with. Giggles and Cuddles, that is an obvious one. Petunia and Handy, because of the I Nub You episode, their relationship was surprisingly wholesome and I support it. And, yeah, that's pretty much it. Although, take this as either a joke or seriously, I think Lumpy and the Mole are an unintentionally wholesome pairing because of their blind date episode. But yeah, anyway, on to the thing that will get people to hate me. It's time to talk about the ships I am not a fan of. The main one that I've been waiting this entire video to talk about is Flippy and Flaky. I know, super controversial, but here's my reasoning, and no, it is not because of age. The characters don't have canonical ages except Cub. The only reason why I don't approve of the Flippy and Flaky ship is because Flaky is afraid of Flippy. That is it. Let me explain. Any romantic or platonic relationship between two people where one of them is scared of the other is just incredibly unhealthy, toxic, and not okay. And this applies for both fiction and reality, alright? So with that said, any possible relationship between those two will always end up being unhealthy because of Flaky's fear, which is clearly seen in Without a Hitch. Now, if that fear of Flippy within Flaky wasn't a thing, then I probably would be on board with the ship. However, because Flaky is officially shown to be afraid of him, morally I have to say that I think the ship is inappropriate and toxic. The closest I believe Flippy and Flaky could ever be is friends, and if you disagree with me, that's fine. This is just my personal opinion. Also, side note for any shippers out there, can we not make Flippy, the PTSD of Flippy, be some sort of yandere? Flippy is literally just Flippy in a war, life or death mindset where he sees everything and everyone as the enemy in a war setting, not some split DID personality, because DID is caused by severe and prolonged early childhood trauma. Look it up. Flippy is just Flippy readjusting his mental state to be something more appropriate in order for him to survive the war, which coincidentally also ruined his ability to conform in society. Anyway, moving on. Other ships like Nutty and Sniffles, Splendid and Flippy, Disco Bear and Pop, etc. I honestly don't have much opinion on other than I don't personally see it myself. I think they're just mainly friends. Though I'll admit they aren't as bad as the Flippy Flaky one, but in my opinion. If people want a more full-fledged video on my quote-unquote headcanons, let me know and I will make one. But anyway, I'm going to leave this segment of the video here because I'm starting to die of cringe. I know I have said many things which you may not agree with, and that is perfectly fine. I respect your opinion and ask that you respect mine. Unless you ship Flippy and Flippy or Lifty and Shifty together, at that point you're just weird. You know, I'll be honest, I'm kind of afraid to share this video because I don't know how any of you are going to react to my opinions and thoughts. That is if anyone even watches this video, but nevertheless I hope you enjoy. If not the opinions, then for the drawing. Speaking of, let me know what you think of my Happy True Friends designs in the comments below. Thanks! To summarize, I really like Happy True Friends. It is gory, insane, and so creative that it baffles me. Plus, the work that the people in the fandom are doing also has my respect and appreciation, despite the fact that I am not particularly drawn to it. If you disagree with me on anything I have stated, then that is okay and I respect you. I mean, after all, we're all adults, right? Right? Anyway, feel free to like, comment, share, and or subscribe as it will be greatly appreciated, although nobody's going to force you to do that if you don't want to. It's your life, so do as you wish. Have a good rest of your day/night, keep creating, and I'll see you again the next time I decide to pop out of the void. Poof.